A kaleidoscope of nebulae shimmered beyond the fissures of the High Court's stained glass dome, each shard of colored glass a testament to the conclave's millennia-long dominion over clustered star systems. The platform beneath Zera's feet hummed with anti-gravity coils, keeping her aloft even as the iron shackles around her ankles rumbled from the residual magnetic fields. She drifted, an unwilling paragon, into the center of the chamber. The judges of Axiom awaited her arrival. Towering at least 3 meters tall, their bodies were pure crystal, angles and facets that caught each beam of light and fractured it into rainbows on the dark marble floor. No face formed on their frames, no eyes to betray emotion. Instead, pulsing veins of luminescent ether tracked the rhythm of an ageless consciousness. Zera's cerulean hair, once braided in the traditional Thalesian warrior knot, floated free, drifting like metallic seaweed. She closed her eyes, steeling her heart against the chill of the courtroom. Every prisoner was made to feel the void between their ribs, the emptiness of isolation. Today, it was her turn. When she opened her eyes, the High Judge's voice rippled across the dome. Zerathalis, it intoned, the words slicing through her like a vibroblade. You stand accused of betrayals too grievous to list. Treasonous diplomacy, unauthorized contact with soul-originating life forms, and violation of the Charter of Cosmic Sovereignty. A bead of sweat formed at Zera's temple. She forced another, breath recalling the hidden archives where she had studied ancient Earth treaties, long outlawed yet brimming with the promise of peace. If only the conclave would listen. The High Judge raised a crystalline scepter, the gavel of eradication. Its surface was veined with liquid starlight, its strike capable of stripping not just rank or title, but the very essence of privilege. Zera's chest tightened. She remembered each legend of fallen nobles undone by its blow. By decree of the conclave, the judge continued, voice echoing, all bonds of privilege are hereby severed. With the final word, the gavel fell. Thunderclap cracked through the chamber. Zera's silken robes disintegrated, threads of woven plasma dissolving into motes of vapor. The anti-gravity coil sputtered and failed. Her limbs went slack as she plummeted to the marble floor, the jagged edges of each tile slicing through her skin as she skidded several meters before coming to rest in a crumpled heap. Murmurs rippled through the galleries of delegates. In their luxury tunics and ceremonial armor, they leaned forward, hungry for the spectacle. Zera's naked form lay vulnerable under the dome's prismatic glow, a stark violation of the privacy laws that even common criminals were afforded. Yet here she was, stripped not only of clothing but of dignity. Pain lanced through her ankle. One of the shackles had gouged a groove in her flesh, but she dared not scream. Instead, she forced herself to climb onto trembling knees. Every inch of floor pressed into her palms, igniting fresh sparks of agony in her skin. She tasted iron and fear. The High Judge's voice boomed again. By writ of the conclave, you shall crawl to the threshold and plead for mercy. But note this. Mercy is not owed to one who desecrates the unity of our order. Zera's breath hitched. Mercy was a word she barely remembered, lost in stories her mother once told her beneath Thalis's twin moons. She locked her jaw, willing her tears to stay hidden. Zavrian courts did not tolerate tears. They regarded emotion as the sign of weakness. She placed a trembling hand on the floor, extended her other arm forward. Each movement was an ordeal, bone grinding, flesh burning, pride shredding. But she kept her gaze level, refusing to submit, mentally even as her body betrayed her. Delegate Xeno gulps, tall, glimmering reptilian diplomats lined the aisles, their forked tongues flicking as they hissed judgments under their breath. Cloud-born poets fluttered overhead, their siphons, recording every syllable for posterity. Zera focused on the endpoint, the cracked threshold of the dais where the cold light pooled like liquid silver. Inside her mind she heard a different voice, the gentle echo of Earth's promise of justice, of rights that transcended species. She clung to that echo as she inched forward, the last vestige of her resolve. This crawl, she told herself, was not an admission of defeat, but a crucible. Somewhere beyond this chamber, hope still waited. When her fingertips brushed the threshold, something within her snapped. A silent vow kindled in her chest. If she survived this trial, she would find an ally. A human ally, perhaps. Those strange, yellow-skinned newcomers who dared to challenge conclave edicts themselves. For now, though, she would finish this crawl. She would survive. And she would rise again. Her final elbow pushed against the floor. She was within reach. Around her, the chamber held its breath. The chamber's hush thickened as Zara pushed herself upright, every inch of her exposed flesh alight with humiliation. The marble beneath her palms was impossibly smooth, its cold surface drawing fresh tears from raw, unprotected skin. Each breath came ragged, a harsh rasp that echoed like a lament through the vaulted hall. Above her, the stained glass dome refracted the nebula's light into jagged shards that danced across her spine, as though the very cosmos watched and judged. "Begin," the High Judge intoned. Its voice, emotionless as carved ice, froze her. Blood. Delegates leaned forward, their faces twisted in anticipation of her downfall. Zara took a single shuddering breath, then lowered her chin and extended her right hand forward. The simple act of reaching unleashed a torrent of pain. Her fingertips scraped the marble so fiercely they shed droplets of blood, each drop a tiny ruby against the white stone. Still she moved, arm by arm, leg by leg, as if her body had become a machine of atonement. A chorus of derision swelled around her. Reptilian xenogulps spat guttural laughter. Their scales gleamed as they mocked her with guttural hisses. Cloud-born poets alighted in the rafters, their quills scratching feverishly as they immortalized her disgrace in epic couplets. "Behold, the fallen princess," they buzzed, brought low by her own hubris. The words cut deeper than any blade, but Zara forced her vision upwards, locking onto a single pane of cobalt glass. There, the twisted silhouette of a distant starship glimmered, an emblem of her crime. It had been her hope, her secret lifeline to Earth, and now it stared back at her with cold indictment. Time fractured into endless moments of agony. Her knees, scraped raw, her elbows burned, and with every inch forward a flicker of her pride died. Yet beneath the scorched veneer of shame, a spark of defiance smoldered. She recalled the forbidden broadcasts she'd watched by starlight. Humans standing up to injustice, forging alliances across impossible divides. Those stories had given her purpose. And now, even as the conclave sought to crush her spirit, that purpose remained unbroken. Midway down the dais, her strength waned. Her arms trembled, spine quivering. For one unbearable second, she considered giving in, letting her body lie still beneath the judgmental gaze of thousands. But at the thought of succumbing, her heart roared in protest. She thought of the children, on Thalis, who dared to whisper her name in secret, of the human envoy who awaited her fate so far beyond these walls. Summoning every shred of will, Zara rose on quaking knees and dragged herself the final meters toward the dais's crest. With a final desperate heave, she braced both hands on the threshold. Pain surged like a nova, and for a heartbeat the world went white. Then the High Court's hum receded, the crystalline judges receded, and all that remained was the raw pulse of her own life force. She lay there, trembling, blood mixing with tears yet alive and inching ever closer to whatever mercy or rebellion might lie just beyond this crucible of shame. A tense stillness settled over the chamber as Zara lay collapsed at the threshold, every breath a victory snatched from the jaws of agony. The crystalline judges observed in stony silence, their facets dimming, as if even they contemplated the spectacle's cruelty. Delegates exchanged furtive glances, uncertain whether to erupt in derision or recoil in discomfort. The hive of Nather, usually quick to jeer, fell unusually quiet. Then a clear voice cut through the hush. "Stop this at once." All eyes spun toward the grand entrance, where Earth's ambassador, Rhea Monroe, stood framed by the reinforced force field. In her tailored blue uniform adorned with the Sol Alliance crest, she carried neither weapon nor tremor, her gaze, calm but unwavering, locked on the judges. This treatment violates Article 47 of the Interstellar Human Rights Accord, Rhea declared, her voice amplified by the court's acoustics. No sapient being may be subjected to cruel or degrading punishment, human or otherwise. Murmurs rippled through the delegates. The judges themselves seemed taken aback. No one had ever cited Earth law directly in a Zavrian courtroom. Rhea stepped forward without hesitation, her boots clicking on the marble as she approached the dais. "Ambassador," the High Judge intoned, voice brittle. "This court is sovereign. Human treaties are not binding upon the conclave." Rhea met the judge's crystalline gaze unflinchingly. "Yet the conclave has ratified the accord in the last assembly," she replied. "By your own hand, you pledge to uphold its statutes. And by your own hand, you orchestrate a punishment that the accord prohibits." A low hum of tension thrummed through the dome. Delegates shuffled, some reaching for data pads to verify the treaty's status. Above, the cloud poets ceased their scribbling, their quills frozen mid-stroke. For the first time, the Grand Hall felt uncertain. Rhea knelt beside Zara, brushing a strand of bloodied hair from her face. "Princess Zara Thalis," she said, softly, "I believe in your cause of peace, and I refuse to stand by while you are shamed." With that, Rhea reached out and lifted Zara from the floor. A collective gasp rose from the assembly. As human strength met alien fragility, a ripple of empathy passed among the delegates, some shocked, others inspired. Standing, Rhea held Zara close enough to shield her broken form from further sight. Then, with a firm gesture, she turned toward the judges. "Release her from all charges," she commanded, "or face the consequences under the accord." Silence reigned as the judges conferred in a chorus of crystalline clicks. At last, the High Judge bowed its head. "In acknowledgement of the treaty," it announced, "and in recognition of your intervention, Ambassador, the charges against Zara Thalis are hereby suspended, pending a full review." Rhea exhaled, easing Zara into a supportive stance. The princess's tear-streaked gaze found Rhea's, and in that instant a fragile alliance was born, one that would challenge the conclave's ancient codes and usher in a new hope for both species. The hollow echoes of the chamber's hush lingered as Ambassador Monroe guided Zara to the center of the dais. The hurt in Zara's limbs had not abated, but her spirit now burned with a quiet fire. All around, delegates held their breath, waiting to see if this human intervention would shatter the conclave's centuries-old codes or ignite them into a new dawn. High Judge Axiom's crystalline form pulsed with uncertain light. "Ambassador Monroe," it intoned, "the conclave's sovereign rights have been challenged today. You invoke a treaty we have ratified, yet never truly embraced." Its facets flickered, as if weighing 1,000 conflicting impulses. "And you." It shifted to Zara. Once an heir to Thalis's throne, now stand unmoored between two worlds. Rhea stepped forward, her voice steady. "The Interstellar Human Rights Accord is not a relic to display. It is a living promise. We, humans, learned long ago that true unity demands mercy, respect, and the willingness to change." She opened the datapad in her hand and projected the Accord's final clause, a glowing paragraph affirming equality and prohibiting punishments that degrade sapient dignity. A murmur rippled through the gathered patrons. For the first time, delegates saw not a legal formality, but a clear mirror reflecting the conclave's own aspirations and failures. The cloud poets lowered their quills, reptilian xenogulps exchanged wary glances, and even the stoic judges hesitated. At last, the High Judge spoke. "By unanimous assent of those bound by this tribunal, we rescind the Edict of Eradication. We restore Princess Zara Thalis to her status, and invite her to stand not only as Thalesian nobility but as a bridge between our peoples." With a sweeping gesture, the gavel of eradication deactivated, its liquid starlight retracting back into the judge's scepters. A soft hum coursed through the dais as motes of plasma converged at Zara's feet. The threads coalesced into a robe of shifting silver and azure, an intricate pattern of Thalesian sigils entwined with Earth's spiraling starburst. As it settled around her shoulders, The robe gleamed like dawn's first light across a new horizon. Rhea offered her hand. Zara took it, rising to her full height. In that gesture, strength and vulnerability met, two souls entwined by choice rather than decree. The chamber erupted in applause, cautious at first, then triumphant as delegates rose from their seats to honor the fragile alliance. Outside the court's great doors, the nebula's colors seemed more radiant than ever. Word of today's events would spread from Thalas's moon to Earth's polar outposts, a beacon for every world drenched in fear or division. And though the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, the partnership between a human diplomat and an alien princess had proven that compassion could crack even the hardest crystal, and from those cracks new light would shine.